I have a notion here, which is that I don't know that I believe that Chloe is Chloe. Because, like, they've come back and they've said, oh, we found Chloe. And I'm like, bullshit.
However, there are concerns about the qualifications of Mr. Wing. He has no experience in pattern recognition analysis. I can see no training
That's right.
on his resume.
This is a rebuttal.
I will not hold the defense to the standard they've tried to employ, that he is not a medical expert, nor will I rely on Dr. Russell saying she's the only.
We are not going back to the you must be a medical expert standard, because that fucking ship has sailed. Like, the shit's out of the horse on that one. That standard apparently doesn't exist anymore because the court has ruled in your favor, removing that standard that seems to be her standard.
On his resume.
He has denied that Dr. Russell knows anything about dog bites. She wrote 2 papers on dog bites. Then he brought in a guy who trained dogs and got fired from the Florida Animal Preserves something because he gave one of the workers a pig to take home and roast. When the family came to find it again, it was gone. But it tasted great, rumor has it.
Okay, if you weren't here for the first trial, this judge ruled during the first trial that nobody who was not a medical doctor was allowed to testify with regard to causation of injuries, okay? The crash daddies, one of the crash daddies, Dr. Rentschler, is a biomechanical engineer with tons of qualifications, and his job was, in addition to recreating the accident, was to figure out if the injuries to John O'Keefe's body were caused by the car and if the damage to the car was caused by the body of John O'Keefe. She would not allow him to testify about the injury component because he was not a medical doctor. Put a pin in that.
We haven't even talked about Chloe yet. This whole idea, and forensic science is what I do, okay? This whole idea that you can take a mold of a dog years later, first of all, that your dentition changes, whether you're a dog or your person. Second of all, forensic odontology, matching bite marks to a person, it's been like undone almost everywhere except for like a state of New York where some judge upheld the issue of a forensic bite mark being valid evidence. But there's been more people that have been set free on wrongful convictions for wrongful bite mark evidence than you can imagine. Just go to the Innocence Project and you'll find out.
Like, how could you be so shameless as to suggest, when you're proffering the dog odontologist and you want that to be accepted as valid evidence, and yet you have the nerve to come in and question these other folks? Like, yeah, I don't get it. I really don't. But you know, there's no standard like a double standard, I guess.
Bullshit. Like, I want to see the full chain of custody on Chloe, because I'm like, is this actually Chloe or is this just some other dog?
Now, this trial, whole new trial, this James Crosby, who is not a medical doctor, she's not even going to reconsider her ruling on Crosby, who's not a medical doctor, who's a behaviorist. She rubber stamped him in, and she's not going to, we don't even know what he's an expert in, what he's been qualified as an expert in. We have no idea because the papers that were filed by Brennan are facially insufficient. We have no idea. He's a dog shrink. Yeah, exactly. Judge Kim Jong-Kanoni is looking at Judge Fran Gull, and she's like, hey, Gull, hold my White Claw. Check this out.
This is another Solo Cups problem. Like, this is another thing of like, hey, if you'd actually collected evidence at the time in order to investigate a case, like it's a freaking alleged murder of a police officer, like, I have seen better investigative techniques on like liquor store robberies. You know, everything on this is so freaking sloppy.
Because if you don't think that Hank Brennan's going to, I mean, Melanie Little's going to get some love, the Cupcake's going to get some love. Because if you don't think Hank Brennan's going to talk about how, you know, he's a guy that was on YouTube that the defense decided to pull on. I mean, like, he'll take any shot that he can get.
Okay, because they went to visit Chloe allegedly because they found her and did some moldings, but we all know that forensic odontology is junk science because Lally even said that during the last trial. Wow.
Right. Aggressive dog can suffer pretty severe consequences for biting humans. And we know that Chloe already has a record of biting humans. That was the explanation for why they rehomed her in the first place. Well, actually, technically, the explanation for why they rehomed it was because she had gotten in another dog fight. And that was when Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jackson elicited, and she's actually sent 2 people to the hospital. So I would suggest that it would probably be against Chloe's interests to admit biting yet another human. Dogs can have pretty serious consequences for repeat aggressive behavior against humans.
And this guy is overly qualified. He has this thing where he's always complaining that they are not qualified, even though they have all the qualifications. But his ground hardness expert is not a geologist. It's a meteorologist, which has no knowledge about ground hardness. So it's constantly this, and you will hate this guy before we get to the end of week 1.
We don't even know if this is really Chloe. But he wants Crosby to be able to testify based on his molds of alleged Chloe's teeth. Some people have think that Chloe's been 6 feet under since shortly after the rehoming, or around the time they said that Chloe, it was rehomed. No.
The National Academy of Sciences report 2009, Strengthening Forensic Science as a Path Forward. I have it over here. I think I showed it to you one day. That talks about how forensic odontology is not a science. Also, in forensic odontology, you can't match because skin moves. Skin is movable. It's pliable. So if there is a bite, just because you've measured something or you've measured doesn't mean because skin is pliable that a mold or anything is valid. I mean, I love Robert Leslie, but I think he should be going after that. It's not valid in any situation. There's no protocol that makes a forensic odontology and a bite mark.
When you say supposedly, I can't take you seriously. And I mispronounce shit all the time. Emily, hypocritical much? Yup. Sure fucking is. You know what? Can't help it. Can't help it. No grace left to give. It's nefarious.
And what Hank Brenner's trying to say, well, it's exclusionary to a dog. Well, it's exclusionary maybe if you have a person, but even then it's not allowed because it's not allowed as a valid science. Exclusionary to a dog, that's even worse because exclusionary, there's not been many studies, I'll guarantee you, on whether or not there's been forensic odontology studies, validation studies, error rates, peer review studies on having forensic odontology applied to a dog.
Chloe. So it's exclusion, not inclusion.
What's the difference, jackass?
It's an uphill battle for you, I'll tell you that. I'll hear from Mr. Wilson.
It's an uphill battle for you, I'll tell you that. Wow, she actually told Brennan no.
My last category of points to make, Your Honor, is this. The timing of this report came in light of the court's ruling on Dr. Crosby that a non-medical doctor can opine on wounds to humans.
There it is.
And we did make a motion for...
Excuse me, Your Honor. You did this to yourself. You said in the last trial, clear as day, Emily, you're never going to let this go. No. Why? Because consistency. If the judge says the rule is that you cannot testify to a medical cause of injury until you're a medical doctor, I expect that to be the motherfucking rule forever, for all sides. If it's the rule, it's not a guideline. It's not a suggestion. It's a rule. So when the court said, more like guidelines, the defense went, oh, okay, well, then we're going to need another expert to counter the expert from the Commonwealth. So now we need another expert. Your Honor, we wouldn't be here if you hadn't changed the rule. which may or may not have ever been the rule because nobody could find it in case law or in, you know, the legislative acts or in the rules. And he was just like, well, Your Honor, you did this.